Hello and welcome. This is the F&O Show on Bloomberg Quint Live, India's first digital live streaming business news service. I am Agam Vakil. First, the headlines. Indian markets struck global cues to extend gains for the seventh day, with the Nifty scaling 950 mark in early trade. Volatility declines. And the rupee extends gain. Bond yields drop after the RBI announces more OMO purchases to inject additional liquidity into the system. And open interest surges in United Breweries as traders continue to take fresh long positions in its stock futures. And oil marketing companies remain in focus after crude hits its lowest levels in over a year. With that, let's take a look at the markets at this point in time. What we are seeing is advances on the Nifty as well as the bank Nifty futures. We have about a 0.5% gains on the Nifty at this point in time, with the Sensex also advancing by as much as 0.5%. And with respect to some of your futures and options trends, what we're seeing is some more longs coming through based on the kind of moves that we're seeing. Of course, do remember the crucial mark that we are keeping an eye on is the 11,000 mark, and there you have it. That's your futures out there at around 10,976. With that, let's take a look at the India Volatility Index as well and see how that is trending, because that's come off by as much as 1.4%. Do remember that Nifty at this point in time is at considerably heady levels, well over the mark of 10,950. And considering the VIX is come off to quite an extent, that should calm nerves of those who are long in the markets. Let's move on and take a look at how the options are panning out and how the options trade at this point in time. What we're looking at is a little more writing around the 10,900 put. Now, this could be concerning because considering there is writing around the 10,900 put, there could be some expectations of a further up move for those who are short in the markets. But of course, on the other hand, as I was suggesting earlier, we're seeing more and more writing around the 11,100 and 11,200 calls. Let's pull up the open interest distribution picture and see whether or not that has seen a change. And while we have seen a spike in your 11,100 and 11,200 calls, it is the 11,000 mark which continues to remain as the one with the maximum open interest, and it should provide some amount of resistance at least in the near term. Should we see the Nifty move above that mark, well, then in that case, there is a possibility, as many technical analysts suggest, that we could move back into uncharted territories. Of course, the lifetime high is well over the 11,100 mark, so we'll be watching out for that as well. With that, let's pull up that list of all the stocks which have seen a substantial increase in open interest. So you have United Breweries, and I am going to talk about United Breweries in just a bit in a little more detail, but it is inching towards the mark of 1,400. In fact, it has gone up about that level on an intraday basis. 24% added in open interest, a lot of longs there. And Cholamandalam Finance is the other one, which is also looking at considerable increase in open interest of as much as 18% actually. Bata India is the other one, which continues to move from strength to strength, up 2%, 12% added in open interest. Repco Home Finance, another stock that I am going to discuss a little bit later on, that's up 11%, Muthoot Finance as well. So a whole host of these stocks, in fact, all the top gainers on the open interest today are all advancing, and a lot of longs building in. Let's pull up the list of those which are seeing some sort of unwinding. Tata Communications is the only one that stands out. And even though we have 1.3% declines in open interest, its underlying, it really hasn't done too much. So that's as far as the markets are concerned at this point in time. With that, we'll bring in our experts. But before that, here's a reminder. If you have any queries regarding futures and options markets, you can call us on 022-4540-4141. Or, of course, also write to us on our Twitter, Facebook and YouTube pages with the AskBQ hashtag. On that note, let's welcome in our experts for the day. We have Brijesh Singh of StockAxis and K. Subramanyam of Altamount Capital joining us. Good morning to both of you. Let me start off with Brijesh. The Nifty heading above, and we're very close to the 11,000 mark, Brijesh. How are you seeing these trends? Is the risk-reward ratio favorable on the upside, and how would you employ derivatives based on your views?
Good morning, Agam. See, no doubt, purely from a technical point of view, what I have been looking, the Nifty has been breaking all the resistance zone on the higher side. See, prior to the state election, Nifty made a high of 10,939, and after that it went into a correction mode and it made a low of 10,339. And as soon as that 50% retracement value has been wiped off, that is somewhere around 10,635 or say 40, Nifty is inching on the higher sides. Now, as soon as this Nifty 10,939 has been crossed, and it gives chances are that we are looking for a closing basis above that, then definitely Nifty would try to touch 11,090. That is the first hurdle. If anyhow that thing has been crossed, then the Nifty might try to touch 11,240 zone. So overall, what I am been looking, if someone wants to play for a long side, keep a stop loss of 10,890. Any dip below 10,930 or say 35 can be used for a buying purpose for the target of 11,090. Time frame for holding this would be somewhere around 2 to 3 trading session.
All right, Mr. Subramanyam, good morning to you as well. What is your view here, and how are you employing options here?
Well, morning, Agam. I think we are well poised to cross the 11,100 strike. I mean, 11,100 level. I think maybe late December or maybe early January. And I think the index is poised for heading much higher. I think closer to 11,200, 300 thereabouts. And I think that could be on the back of led by the banking and financials, which have shown some tremendous strength. In fact, the bank Nifty is the one which is actually outperforming, and could be the one key trigger which could see the propelling of the Nifty as well. As a strategy, I have a strategy on the bank Nifty, which seems to be the focus and could be the in focus for the next couple of days, given the Fed meet etc., which will see the actual the more pronounced movement in the financials. So recommending buying of I think it's more of a bull call spread. I think it's a ratio spread rather, wherein recommending buying of a 27,300 strike call, and that's a December 27th contract, not the one which is currently going on. The next week's contract, and that's quoting at around 250. But also corresponding is sell at 2 contracts of 27,900, which is quoting at around 53 odd. The net cost comes to about 144. Maximum gains would be 456, and also recommend a stop loss of 70.
Okay, so, well, Mr. Subramanyam has a strategy here which he suggested as a spread, but it also looks like what is a long strangle at this point in time, which involves, well, actually, no, this is very much a spread, pardon me. Well, in any case, let's move on and address what stocks our experts are betting on. And Mr. Subramanyam, I'll come back to you. What strategies or do you have on the stock side?
Yeah, given the momentum that we are seeing, I'm betting on L&T. Now, if you see the Nifty, the participants have been likes of ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank, and also L&T. L&T, it's almost marching towards this all-time high, which it touched sometime when the index was correspondingly quoting at around 11,700. So I think it's just a matter of time before we actually see it go past levels of 1470 thereabouts. So, and given that we are now also nearing expiry, I think we could ride the momentum by a 1420 strike call. That's quoting at around 25 to 27, keeping a target of 45, and maybe one could keep a stop loss of 15. And Tata Steel, the metals have been underperformers, but I think closer to expiry we could see the short covering more pronounced. So keeping that in mind, recommend buying of a 530 strike call of Tata Steel. That's quoting at around 10 rupees, keeping a modest target of 18, and maybe one could keep a stop loss of 5.
All right, and Brijesh, how about you? What stocks are you betting on this morning?
See, my first call would be from a paint. At the time of recommendation, I recommended somewhere where the stock was been trading at 1381 zone. Now it has inched to the 1394 zone. But still, overall trend has been bullish. A trend line breakout has been witnesses, followed by higher lows formation on the daily chart, volume breakout. has been witnessing. Even the delivery volume has been increased, so which overall sum up the positivity for this counter. So if someone wants to play for a long side at the present rate of 1394 or any dip somewhere around 1375, one can look out to buy this counter. Here your stop loss would be little bit deeper, but now we have to revise our stop loss since the stock has moved up to 1394. So we can revise the stop loss somewhere around 1350 to 1360 zone is a support. So we can keep that thing as a stop loss and play for the target of 1440. This is I'm looking with achieving within 1 to 2 trading session has been concerned. And before the show started, you were we're talking about all the financial stocks company like Repco Finance or Cholamandalam, Muthoot. Even in that picture scenario, Manappuram Finance looks good on the chart after consolidating in the range of 80 to 85 zone, and we have seen a breakout. Now this 85 zone would be acting as a base for the stocks for a medium term to a long term is been concerned, but for purely for a momentum bet, that too with 2 to 3 trading session has been concerned. 92.5 is the stock has been quoting. So any dip somewhere around 92, one can use to buy this counter with a stop loss of 89 and play for the target of 97. Now the holding time frame for this 97 we can extend to 3 to 4 trading session has been concerned.
Okay, fair enough. That's Brijesh's stock ideas, and it just so happens that among some of the stocks that I picked up, that I want to discuss, Manappuram is one of them. So let's start off with that. Now, Brijesh has already given his views and ideas out here. I just want to point out that at least as far as some very basic technical indicators are concerned, it has given a breakout above its 100 daily moving average, and well, on the relative strength index, it's at around 65 odd levels. Should it go and above the mark of 70, it would be considered some amount of strength coming through. So with that, I'm going to go across to Mr. Subramanyam as well, and if you could give us his view on Manappuram Finance. Mr. Subramanyam, what is your view here?
Well, not a counter which I closely track, but I think yesterday it closed at around 89, and I think some near-term resistance lies at around 90 to 93 thereabouts. So I would probably be in even neutral, but momentum definitely seems to be on the positive side, and we could see maybe this script rise at levels of 95 and 96.
Okay, so that's as far as Manappuram is concerned. The next stock that I want to address is United Breweries, and this is a very interesting one because it's actually in the overbought zone as far as its relative strength index is concerned. It's advancing another 1.5% today. It's made a breakout about all its daily moving averages right now, and its open interest has surged for the second straight day towards longs, up 24% today as well. United Breweries on an intraday basis has moved above the mark of 1400 if I'm not mistaken. So let's address this one as well. Brijesh, coming down to you, how are you viewing trade on United Breweries? Is there more strength? Is this just a start to a rally, or would you be cautious at these levels?
See, Agam, no doubt the oscillators or indicators, they remain for a longer term time frame on a overbought and oversold zone when we are looking up on a technical basis. Only the price is always a leading indicator. So price is a leading, and all the oscillator indicator follows the price. So while talking about the United Breweries, the stock made a high of 1464, and after that it went into a profit booking mode, making a low of somewhere around 1110 or 1112 zone, and after that it's been trading in a zigzag wave formation. So previous swing high has been broken, stock has moved up, and back to back somewhere around 3 to 4 trading session back to back we have seen a volume breakout, and that delivery volume has been increased in that. So that indicates the strength in this counter. So right now 1396 the stock has been trading. What I am been looking for a shorter term time frame. 1380 is an ideal support. So if it comes and trades somewhere around 1380, one can look out to buy this counter if someone has missed the rally. 1310, 1320 is a support. Keep that thing as a stop loss. On a higher side, 1430 to 1435 would be the first hurdle as a resistance, and chances are that stock might be breaking its 52-week high, that is 1466, and might try to touch 1498 zone. So overall trend for a short term basis is looking positive on the chart.
Okay, so that's your view on United Breweries. Overall, looking positive. The other stock that I want to address is Bata India. This one is again another stock which is on a little bit of a tear. In fact, it's registering its 6th straight day of gains. It's up as much as 2% today. Another 12% added in open interest. We just spoke to the management earlier, and the management, of course, was sounding confident as ever based on its store expansion. But even on a 7-day period, as you can see, it's climbed as much as 10%. Let's bring up the open interest picture once again and take a look at how it's doing. Now, there you have it, about 12% added. Now, as far as the options market is concerned, it really isn't very active. But as per the indications of certain technical analysis, well, again, there is a lot of strength considering its DMAs. Mr. Subramanyam, how would you trade Bata India at this point in time? Would you initiate fresh longs here, or do you think the risk-reward ratio is not as favorable?
Well, clearly a stock which is expected to outperform in the medium to long term. I think this is again another stock which I was referring to, likes of an L&T or an ICICI Bank, and even for that matter the United Breweries which we were discussing a little while back. These are all stocks which are showing tremendous strength of outperformance, and I think Bata India probably the best among all the ones which we discussed. So now it's almost closer to levels of 1116, which I think is the 52-week high, which it touched it sometime in August this year. So the strength is clearly there. So, but very near term, I think it's a bit overbought, and maybe one could just wait for some modest cool off to levels of maybe 1125 thereabouts. But a stock which clearly seems to be heading to levels of 1250 maybe in the next couple of months, and stock one could clearly enter at any correction.
Okay, and well, perhaps a stock which may be a slightly more tougher to make a call on is Repco Home Finance, and the only reason why I'm suggesting that is because the stock has seen so much volatility over the previous few months. But today the stock is up as much as nearly 5%, and if I'm not mistaken, it's actually at its 50-day moving average. And this, of course, today's trading day could be crucial for this stock. It is adding in open interest as much as 12% right now, and there is certainly a lot of activity. In fact, there has been a lot of activity over the previous couple of days. Currently at 368. Brijesh, what's your view here, and what levels would you watch out for on Repco Home Finance?
See, Agam, somewhere around 648 high, the stock went into a correction mode. It made a low of 295, and after that, the stock on a shorter term time frame of the chart or even on the daily chart, it has made the higher lows formation, giving a bullish view. A small trendline breakout has to be witnessed. So I'm looking stock either to cross 370 or 371, or if it give closing above 360 also would be fine for the momentum to continue on the higher side. So it's eager to break that level because the volume has been increasing. So as the day would be passing, I think the volume would be suggesting for a counter for giving a more strength. So at present rate, let it cross 370 or 371 on the higher side. So one can look out to buy this counter at that level with the stop loss of 358 because the volatility has been more in it. And whereas the target has been concerned, or the resistance has been concerned, 410, 412 would be the level where we would be seeing a profit booking. So overall trend has been positive for a short term time has been concerned.
All right, so that's your view on Repco Home Finance. With that, I'll move on to some of the queries that our viewers have written to us about. And the first one comes from Maddie S. He actually has a bunch of queries, but unfortunately, Maddie, I'll just be able to take maybe one or two from you. The first one is on Bajaj Finance, and the question that he has, he actually wants a view on Bajaj Finance. So let's pull that stock up and see how it's trending today. It's nearing 2600, and actually considering it's one of those stocks which moves in tandem with the Nifty, perhaps advances a little more than Nifty usually. It's up 2% today. Open interest increase of around 3%. It tends to be quite volatile at around 2600. So Mr. Subramanyam, I'll take this one up with you. What would you advise Maddie to do with Bajaj Finance at this point in time? Long, short, or no trade?
Well, yesterday is clearly given a very bullish engulfing pattern. So the near term, I think, looks definitely promising. And given the momentum that we are seeing in the NBFCs and this being one of the bellwether stocks, my sense is that it will probably head up to levels of 2675, 2700, where he could possibly look to exit. And as far as stop loss is concerned, maybe he could keep closer to levels of 2575 thereabouts. And but I think we could see the stock outperforming in the very short term.
Okay, so that's as far as Bajaj Finance is concerned. Let's also pull up M&M Finance. That's the other query that Maddie has. Again, M&M Finance has seen some amount of activity. Of course, this is largely on account of fundamental reasons owing to fundraising plans and all that. But M&M Financial at this point in time is at around 473. There isn't really too much increase in open interest, relatively lower, but the stock is advancing by as much as 2.5%. Let's pick this up and take a view from Brijesh. Brijesh, what would you advise Maddie to do with this stock?
See, suppose she has bought it, then the stock has a strong support at 465, 468, and the deeper support has been concerned 455. So if she was for a fresh sort of buying, let it trade somewhere around 465 to 468. So your risk reward ratio would be in your favor, keeping a stop loss of 455 and play for the target of 495 to 498. But at this juncture of time, I would be avoiding. Let it trade somewhere around 465. So that your risk reward ratio would be in your favor.
Okay. With that, we move on and take stock of what's going on with Chennai Petrol. We have Ramesh LM who wants to know what can be done with that. He actually has a 300 call, which he's bought at around 5.3, and he wants a target and a stop loss. Well, let's if we can pull up all those variables here, futures, perhaps that particular 300 call of Chennai Petrol as well. From what I can see, Chennai Petrol is, well, actually, it's not doing too much in today's day of trade. It's down around 1%, but it did show a lot of strength yesterday. And once again, it is, well, between its 50 and 200 daily moving average bandwidth at this point in time. So I'm going to toss it back to Brijesh. Brijesh, he's bought, well, the 300 call, which is just a tad away from where the stock is currently trading at. He's bought that particular call at 5.3. What would you advise him to do? What do you think the target and stop loss would be? If not for that particular option, then at least as far as the levels on the futures or the underlying goes.
See, Agam, no doubt from 250 odd level, the stock has been moving up consistently with increase in volume. Now, at this juncture of 285, the stock is facing some mild resistance, but that doesn't mean the trend has been over. So I'll suggest him, first of all, to hold on. Right now, the traded call has been quoting somewhere around 4 rupees. Only the time value would be the factor. But overall, the trend has been positive right now. 279, 278 is a support. So keep that thing as a stop loss. If anyhow that thing has been broken, then I'll say to exit till it doesn't break. Hold on. Whereas on the higher side has been concerned, 295, 298 is a strong resistance. So I'm looking at least stock touching 295, 298 before this expiry. So at least your call, what you have bought at 300 might be, the level we can see the buying price at least, so that you can at least get out from that neck to neck level as such. So you would not be making a profit, you would not be making a loss right now. But right now you are making a loss. So I suggest hold on with a stop loss of 270, 279 and pay for the target of 298.
Okay, another option query coming in from Bikash Pekare. He says he wants a view on Axis Bank. This is the 620 call specifically in this case, and which he's bought around 16.4. This is the December series Axis Bank call, if we can pull the underlying, so the underlying is up around 11 odd points at around 630, and he's clearly in the money. But I reckon that he must have bought it recently, considering his entry price is 16.4 and this option is currently trading at around 17.8. Mr. Subramanyam, how would you help Bikash with levels to keep an eye on as far as Axis Bank is concerned? What would you ask him to do with his option?
Well, in terms of a resistance, I think closer to 640, we could see some sort of resistance building up, and it's already up. I mean, today also it's up about closer to levels of 632. So it's very closer to the resistance level. Tomorrow could be a very critical day. I think we have some of these private sector banks. have shown a tendency for outperformance, particularly likes of ICICI Bank and Axis Bank. So I would probably put my order on the fact that it will go past levels of 640. So given that he has got an option which has a time value element and which can shrink very fast, and again next week is a truncated week thanks to the Christmas holiday. So I think he has to be a bit careful. Maybe he could put stop loss closer to levels of, in terms of I think support level. I think 625 should not be breached on Axis Bank on a spot level. So the moment it closes anywhere near to 625, I think he would look to exit the option so that he doesn't lose much. But odds are high that it will probably scale up levels to past 640.
All right, I'm just going to request Vivek and Raghunathan to hold on to their queries. We will address them in Ask BQ because of cash queries and some of them in the long term. I'm going to wrap with a final query on Federal Bank. This comes from Rajesh Roy, and he just wants a view here. So let's pull up Federal Bank and take a look at what the futures are doing. Actually, not too much. Even the underlyings are, well, marginally in the green right now. At around 92.8, it's usually very active. So I'm going to take this one up with Brijesh. Brijesh, what would you ask Rajesh to do with Federal Bank?
See, I'm somewhere around 80 or 85. I've been recommending these stocks, and now it has been touched my the resistance zones or the target level, but that doesn't mean the trend has been over. The trend line breakout has been witnessed right now. So overall, for the longer term, if he has a view of 1 year plus, then definitely he can look out to buy this counter at the present rate or any day below 90 for the target of 125, whereas the support or stop loss has been concerned, keep 80 as that thing as a stop loss and below that. So long term, definitely the stock is looking positively, and one can look out to buy this counter with 1 year perspective for the target of 125 plus.
Okay, on that note, I'm going to take a moment to thank our experts Brijesh and Mr. Subramanyam for taking us through their views and solving some of our viewer queries. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of the F&O Show. But for more news and updates, stay tuned to Bloomberg Quint Live.